and Dr. Catalaris will talk after Malcolm, and then Dr. Deb Waldron will be here, and Deb Lynch from Medical Cannabis Users Australia. And, you know, there's a few other things happening, but what I really want to emphasise is that Sunday can be great because there's half the crowd of yesterday. You can totally get one-on-one time to talk to people if you've got personal issues or anything you want to work out. So this is Malcolm Lee. I met Malcolm quite a few years ago, and in the cannabis world he's a legend, and that he made medicine and changed a lot of people's lives. And kind of, he likes to ignore there's laws. Anyway, it's not always helpful, I find. But he got busted with drums of oil, and he managed to talk the judge out of sending him to jail. In fact, the judge said, "You're the man we should have making our medicine in the future." But of course, they're never going to give a licence to him or me. So I really appreciate him coming up today. He's driven up a long way, and he especially wants to teach people, and some of you will have come here for this, how to feminise seeds. Because, you know, any of you who grow cannabis will know this, but, you know, one of the catches is that we've got male and female plants, and unless you want to breed seeds, we don't want the males. So girls who grow weed quite like this, you pull out all the boys, and then you get these beautiful female big flowers, really, the heads are, with seedless heads, and that's what you make the great medicine out of. So rather than have to, like all the American presidents, had to walk through the crop pulling out the males, he has a system for making feminized seeds, which is quite a common practice now. Anyway, Malcolm, thanks heaps for being here. Here's your machine.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, guys. I don't know where to start. There's a couple of people getting some coffee, so I might just tell you a story. I was busted in 2014. I'd been researching it so much, I was bursting with information. I couldn't say anything to anybody, so when the cops came, I bashed their ears about it. They came in and they said, "Oh, what's this?" And I said, "Cannabis oil." "Oh, that's 30 years in jail. That's bloody great," he said. "So what's next?" And, you know, in the end, they took 12 kilograms of olive oil and told me that it was 12 kilograms of pure cannabis oil. They left me all the cannabis oil. Now, when the police came, the first detective came up and he said, "What's that?" I said, "Cannabis oil." "Oh, Jesus. Well, oh, does that get you stoned?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, right, you're off," he said. Then the next cop came up and he asked, "What's that?" And the other cop said, "That's cannabis oil." Right? So this is the level of knowledge of what they were doing. They got rid of the olive oil and left me with the cannabis oil. I thought they were coming back the next day, so I went to all of my customers who had bad cancers and I just gave them everything that I had and buried some in the backyard for my family. Okay, so, you know, I have been to the police in the last week again to tell them that I'm going to grow medical cannabis. Every time I talk to them, they are very disturbed about it, and then within an hour they're going, "Well, we won't bust you, Malcolm," once I show them the transcript from the trial. And I'm very lucky to have a partner whose father is a ex-chief inspector who I convinced to grow some dope for himself and his family. He's doing it now. So this is where it's really at. If you aren't brave enough to take them on, then we're going to fail. You have to be brave enough. And I always talk about this. You must be absolutely open and you must learn what this cannabis plant can do. You must learn. So anyway, I talked to one of the major police down in Canberra and I talked to him about eating cannabis and he said, "Oh, well, that gets you stoned." I said, "No, it doesn't get you stoned, sir." and explained to him that it was cannabigerolic acid. He said, "What?" I said, "Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabigerolic acid. Thank you very much." So he said, "What?" I said, "Yes, this is the precursor to all cannabinoids. When you look at a cannabis plant and on the leaf you'll see, if you blew it up really quite a lot, you'd find a crystal ball on a crystal stalk, and inside that crystal ball is delta-9 tetrahydrocannabigerolic acid. When you put that in your mouth, and plus a little bit of terpenes out of the whole lot, okay? When you put that in your mouth, no material escapes. No terpenes drift off into the atmosphere because you've left the head sitting there in the sun or whatever. You're taking it fresh, you're putting it in your mouth. That cannabigerolic acid that was in that ball on the leaf, then under the action of your enzymes in your mouth, turns into things called the acidic molecules. THCA instead of THC. So THCA does not get you stoned. CBDA, which is meshulam. Anybody not know who meshulam is? Okay, Professor Meshulam was the man who discovered THC, CBD, your internal cannabis system, and a whole lot of other little things related to the cannabis plant. He was the intelligent PhD out of all of the other PhDs. Okay, he was the only one who had a brain, really. So he sorted it out. So he's just said that that CBDA, the acidic form of cannabidiol, is something like 2 to 8 times more effective than cannabidiol itself. He's saying that you need a much lesser dose to get the same effect. Now, I've probably given over 100,000 doses of cannabis oil now. I've given maybe 2,000 doses of head. I gave a lot away this year. And what I found was that the people who ate it for headaches, that really, really worked compared to anything like cannabidiol. Cannabidiolic acid was good, but the entourage effect of high THCA, small CBDA and CBCA, blah, blah, all the way through, did have an effect, much better than just the activated oils. When you activate THC, all you're doing is bubbling off one carbon dioxide molecule. They call it decarbox. So it's taking away carbon and oxygen. It's decarboxylation. So that's all you're doing, but it does get you stoned if you smoke it, and I don't mind that. All right, let's get on to breeding, because we're all here, I think. So there's 3 types of cannabis. There's the sativa, which really emerged in jungle-like country. There is the indica, which came in the desert-type country. And then there is the ruderalis, which came up around the North Pole, back down below the Arctic Circle. Up there, they don't get much warmth during the summer, so those ruderalis plants are timed. They're like corn. If you put corn in, then in 94 days it will be ready. Doesn't matter whether you plant it in September, October, November. These are timed. So a full auto will take 60 to 85 days from the seed emerging to when it's headed. 60 to 85 days. Those are full autos, they call them. Now, that's this seed here. These are feminized full autos. Then, of course, you can take a normal plant and cross it with one of these autos and cross it again with an auto, and you've got a 3/4 auto. And it will go from, say, 70 or 80 days to 100 days. Half auto, maybe 80 days to 140 days. The full plant takes 180 to 190 days. What I'm trying to achieve here is for you to be able to eat from Christmas right through till about May, fresh heads, okay? This is the only way that I know how to do it so far. And that is to make autos and you plant them today. You make 3/4 autos, you plant them today. You put in your half autos today. You put in your full non-autos, if you know what I mean, just a regular plant. And they go in today and they'll be ready in March or April. But the others will come earlier. This is what I want to produce because eating it, as I've said, is far superior to the activated molecules. So it's been said. Now, having said that, I have used the activated molecule more than I've used the head. And it has worked. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're crying. But every time I've given cannabis to anybody, they have received benefit. There has been nobody who has not received benefit. I think that's an important point to remember, is that cannabis will not stop you from dying. You will die. You will take your last breath. It's, you have to figure out what you're going to do between this breath and your last breath. And if it's not to look after each other, you can piss off. Okay, so when you're going to prepare the soil, what you've got to do is get the right soil, because I was told the other day that my seeds were no good, so I went out in a fit of rage and planted 90 in a pot, and 91 came up, so I must have been in a bad bloody mood because I must have miscounted. Anyway, my seeds are good, all right, I know that. But the growing medium is extremely important. So what you do is you go and you spend $100 at the hydro shop. You get peat and you get cocoa husk. Canna is one of the top quality breeds. It's called Canna. So there's Canna peat and Canna cocoa, I think that's what they call them. You get one of those. You only need to grow your marijuana in a pot that big initially, because at the end you're going to be putting it in the ground, because in the ground is best. Unless you can't do that and you have to grow in a cupboard, then you want a much bigger pot, something that size, because the roots will grow out to the whole length of that pot. But in the ground, it won't go quite so far. It'll go along the ground and it will suck much more nutrient than in a pot. It doesn't matter what nutrient you put in that pot, it won't get as much nutrient as what it gets in the ground. So that's the first thing. When you wet the soil, you wet that soil and you put your hands in there and you squeeze it and you get all of the lumps out, and then you soak it with water again. Quarter of an hour later I come back and I do that same process and I get rid of the lumps of dry stuff inside these cocoa peat and cocoa husk, the coconut husk. So you do that, you then fill the pot up with water again and let it go down about quarter of an hour later. You've got something which is completely, the container is completely soaked. That's what you want. Put your seeds on top of the soil and then put a little bit of coconut husk from that bag over there, the coconut husk bag, on top, and put it in a place where, and I don't know everybody's pests. Pests are a real big problem when it comes to there's rats and bush turkeys. God, yeah, there's so many. So you have to look after them. At this stage, you want to keep them as under a netting of some description. You want to keep the snails out, so you want to get... But that's up to you. If you're gardeners, you will know what to do in your area. Okay, I can't decide what you have to do, but you have to protect them. And then and no fertiliser. For God's sake, don't give them anything at this stage. You will kill them. You don't give your plant fertiliser until it's this tall. It's a weed. It's a bloody weed. Okay, so when you get to that stage, then you can start putting chook manure around the outside. Something like chook manure, or I don't care, sheep manure, you can put a whole bag around it, but chook manure, you put 2 handfuls around it and you don't get it too close to the plant. But it's a nitrogen boost which is beyond anything else, and it, poof, away she goes. As soon as the rain comes, you're going to get growth like you haven't seen. So that's what you do to grow. Now, you know that if you're going to give chook shit to the plant, you're going to get potassium, so you're going to get nitrogen, high nitrogen, you're going to get high phosphorus, you're going to get low potassium. Now, if you want to do it organically, I think what you should be doing is getting fire ash and putting it around there as soon as you see the first white hair appear on the female plant, and dig it into the ground, wash it in, and within a month that will start to potassify the soil, if that's such a word. Anyway, that's what you do. I've never had too much worries about. I give 2 or 3 chook shits around them, and then that's it. And they will grow to around about 14 feet if you've got the big varieties. They will grow, and they will grow out from here to the speaker if you do that, at my place anyway. But it does depend on your soil. Some people have got real bad soil and they have to make it themselves, and so you have to go thinking about doing it a year before. You get a bag of chook manure, you cut the bottom out and you pull it open, and you let that bag of chook manure sit there for 10 months. And then you can plant something underneath that. If you pull that chook manure away from that 10 months later, it's full of worms, it's full of all sorts of stuff. That's what you plant in if you want to grow something really huge. You don't need to, though. You know, cannabis is cannabis, whatever size it grows to. So here we go. If you plant these seeds here, the A's, you're going to get them in 60 to 70, maybe 80 days. The B's will be 20, 30 days later on average, C's a bit later, and then the D's right at March, April. So, as I say, you plant them all together and you have got then a continuous supply of head either to smoke or eat or make oil or whatever you're going to do with it. I don't mind what you do with it. All I want you to do is do something with it, because it's all going to do good. All right. Now, let's have a look at this. How do we change a female into a male? It's quite a difficult process. What you've got to do is shock it so badly that it thinks it's a male. It becomes bisexual, the plant. So what you do is you get a little jar of water. You drill 2 holes in the top and you get lengths of silver wire, whatever depth that you don't hit the bottom, and you just leave a little bit up the top here. And you put some, whatever, glue around the top just to keep them in place. That's all you have to do. Then you put 27 volts across it. 27 volts, that's 3 of these 9-volt batteries in series. So what you do is you take that clip off there, and it doesn't really matter which one you put it on, except. So I put one on one clip, and I put one on the other clip. And what happens is this 27 volts starts destroying the, come on, sit there, baby, that's it. Okay, so now when you've got 27 volts running through it, and I'll leave it there for half an hour because it takes a while, it starts eating away that silver rod, and it comes out as a cloudy mess. It's a colloid. So it's just really, it's a very, very small particle extraction of silver off these two electrodes, really. That's what they are. So, yeah.
When they put the silver rods in, if it's a metal big, don't the electricity...
Oh, yes, that's right. So yes, you do insulate going through the metal, but you can do the plastic top too, by the way, so it doesn't really do anything, you know. Yeah, these guys have actually got a metal top and they've put grommets on the top and on the bottom, and they don't touch the sides. Yeah, you're right. Or grommets, rather. So anyway, you get this solution up to 40 parts per million, and you go and buy yourself a little water tester, which gives you the parts per million rubbish in the water. It's very interesting, because when I got this, I tested the tap water, and it was 48 parts per million rubbish, whatever it is in the water. It's not pure. So I went and I got the pure water out of our $3,000 machine, as it was back in those days, and it was pure, and it was 46. So they'd taken out 2 parts of the. So I'm not too sure that either the gauge was working properly, or whether we're all getting bullshitted about how clean our water is when we buy pure water. Anyway, I got another bloke to bring his machine over, and he got the same result. So you're already starting with rubbish in the water. So you've got to go 48, and then you've got to add whatever it is to get to 88. That gives you your 40 parts per million. I don't like 40 parts per million. I like to hit it really hard. So I'll get this really cloudy, and it'll go up to about 400 parts per million. And I then spray one branch of my plant, which is this big, and it hasn't shown any white hairs yet. I spray one branch, the lower branch, with this solution. Now what happens is that the plant goes, ew, I hate that, and starts to shrivel up. That branch will shrivelish up, and then it looks like some of it just falls off. But then all of a sudden, after its next door neighbour's plants have got heads that wide on the top, all of a sudden there appears male flowers off this plant beside it. These male flowers produce and can only produce female seed. Now, if you're not careful, and I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to spray one part of the plant and use the seed from that same plant. You can start hermaphrodizing your seed by doing that. So you put one plant here, you maleise that female there, and the pollen from there goes to there, and you use that seed. Don't bury it, because I buried those 90 bloody plants and they're all coming up. So burn them, get rid of them, and use the seed from this one, and then you won't get hermaphrodism, and you'll get 99.99 something percent female. You might get a male every now and again, so you do have to be a little bit, but it's not 50%, it's 1 in 10,000. So when you see this, you'll just start to see this getting cloudy. When I finish this talk, you can come up and walk past this and have a bit of a look. It is, these three set up in series, so that means it goes from the black to the red, to the black, to the red, to the black, to the red, to the black, to the red. That means instead of going in parallel, it's going in series. So you're getting 27 volts, and that is enough to start spraying that stuff off the silver wire, okay? So that's all you have to do to make feminized seed. What the real big test is, you want to know what is good seed. You don't want to produce something which is not much good. So a lot of the seed that I've got here is from my breed, and I breed an alpha male with a diesel mango with a haze. I crossed them both, got an alpha diesel mango haze, and I crossed it with the elephant, and I called that the elephant. Then I crossed that with the ace of spades, and I called that the black elephant. I crossed the black elephant with the Kandahar, and I called that Becky, and then I crossed the black elephant with the A-train and called that Beat, and then I crossed that and I got Becky Beat, and then I crossed that with the AK-47, and then I crossed that with the blue cheese, and that's what is on this. And it's, I looked for a long time, people would bring me really good females, and I would say, yeah, okay, great, and every now and again one would be just so superior to the rest, I would breed with that. That's how these have come. Not from someone saying they're good, it's from me seeing that they're good out of a lot of them, okay? So what I've tried to do by my breeding, it's an old style breeding where you're trying to always get the male, because it's coming out of the best female, and you're going to use that male, female, and take the best female, and you're breeding with that, but it's got a mother, which was the best mother that I could find, and then it's got the best grandmother, and it's the great-grandmother, then the best great-great-grandmother. This is what I've been doing, and so my male seeds produce reasonably good females anyway. But anyway, then I got onto these auto-flowering plants, and I looked at a whole heap of them, and I came up with 2 of them, and they were the old varieties, you wouldn't believe it, but White Widow and Jack Herer were the 2 best plants for eating and smelling. So the terpenes that come off these 2 are magnificent. The same with my variety, so I crossed them. And now this is the seed that I've got here in front of me. So cannabis oil is just one type of oil. There are other essential oils which, in fact, if you were to spend $300, you'd be able to clean your house, clean your teeth, do your makeup, do all of these things, spray the ground around the pots, and even Argentinian ants won't come near it. No ants will come near it. So if you get onto this thing that I've got happening, you get all of these benefits, and you don't spend all of this money that at a hydro shop to do exactly the same job, and you don't get any benefit from it. They don't, all of these things that you put in the soil, they don't clean your house, they don't clean your teeth. What are they doing? What are they doing? They're specialised bullshit artists, right? That's what they are. And this is a gold rush, guys, okay? This is like bloody 1850 in some place down in Victoria where everyone was after the gold. Nobody made any money. This is what's going to happen with our CBD and all of the rest. There's going to be somebody who's got 200,000 acres of it, and they can supply it so much cheaper than anyone else. Okay, so this product price is going to keep coming down and down and down. And so the gold rush will end, and everyone will go, oh, hemp, oh yeah, there's 300,000 acres just over the hill, and it'll get all, once all of the hype goes out of cannabis, there'll be something else to worry about. Don't worry about that. There's 7.5 billion of us, and if we all were to use the washing machine, we'd end up bloody strangling most of the fish in the ocean with our nylon and stuff. So, we've got plenty of problems out there that I don't have to worry about. You guys do, because I'm nearly dead. I need more cannabis oil, that's right. Okay, so this is starting to get cloudy. Maybe you can see it, but if you can't, well, I'll just leave it going and you have a look at it. It gets cloudy. I like to leave it for about an hour and a half, and it gets really grey and dirty, cloudy. Put it in a bottle and spray that leaf, or spray that arm off that one plant. If it's really strong, you only need to do it once. I always do it twice because I don't know, OCD is it, or ODD, I don't know. Whatever it is. So, Power freak, that sounds all right. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's doing its job. I probably can do the job with one spray, but there's no science to this, really, okay? It's like cannabis itself. There is no science about it yet. If I come back in 500 years and they're still doing it, there'll be a lot more science that we know about it, because we're only just at the bottom of the exponential curve of knowledge about this stuff, and so I'm not going to say that I know anything about it at all. All I can tell you is that everybody who I've given cannabis oil to has received benefit. That's all I can say. I don't know about the medical side of it. I know how to breed. I was caught breeding. When the cops came, they said, "Oh, you're a bloody grower." I said, "No, I'm a breeder. There's 83 different, I think there was 83 different varieties at that stage when I was going to go back to a few, but I wanted to see what," and they said, "No, look, they're all the same." Right? It's like a bloody farmer with his cattle. You can't go out and say, "Oh, they all look the same. White men all look like the same, black men all look like the same." Oh, no, they're all different. And they couldn't see the difference because they haven't been doing it for 35, 40 years, you know. So, what was I going to ask? Oh, yes. So I wrote a song the other day because there's no good poking a politician up the arse with a pitchfork, right? They just bloody come back at you. So what you do is you make them smile and go, "Oh, shit, I've got to do something about that." So this song is going nowhere because the title is Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol acid. It's got the same number of syllables as supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, so I chose that song, see? And what I said in it was what I considered to be the truth. That's all I wanted to say. We don't have a CD player, do we?
I can put it on for you.
Oh, I'd love that, and chop it off after the first song because it repeats itself.
It's not the best recording, but we can play it.
Oh, no, it won't be the best recording.
Sing it live.
Sing it live.
Sing it live and loud.
Okay.
Can you sing it live?
I can do it, have a go. I can't...
I'll give you an intro beat. Right?
No, it's all right. I don't know. I don't need that. Oh, Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol acid. It's the stuff that you can eat that makes you very placid. Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol acid. It's the plant that you can eat that does not have known hazards. Dumb little government, dumb little lies. Dumb little government, dumb little lies. That's the first verse. Is there anything wrong with that? No, okay. So, if you eat your cannabis as raw as you can have it, it will take disease away, so make a daily habit of eating cannabis every day. As long as you don't heat it, it will take the lumps away from body, mind and spirit. Dumb little government, dumb little lies. Dumb little government, dumb little lies. Anything wrong with that? Thank God for that. So the last verse.
Yes, please.
Last verse. Okay. Did you know that we all have an internal cannabis system? It controls all the knobs, even body wisdom, and body wisdom reigns supreme. When you choose plant kingdom, this plant is the queen of plants, and all you do is eat it. Dumb little government, dumb little lies. Dumb little government, dumb little lies. So I want children to sing the verse, and I'll just sing the dumb little government, dumb little lies. So I want that. someone wants to dress me up as Dumbledore or Gandalf. I don't even know who they are. But apparently other people do, so because I don't watch movies, I just research. I'm a boring old shit. So I want them to sing those things. I want that song to be sung by the kids just like they sang, and I did it when I was a kid, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I could not bloody stop singing it. That's what I want to happen with the kids. And that's not poking them up the arse with a pitchfork. That's making them smile. And remember that all of these guys and women down in Canberra are human. Make sure you remember that when you're talking to them. They don't want to be lambasted with anything that's on your mind. They want to know the truth. They can't do anything about the truth, but they want to know the truth. They can't do anything about the truth because if we were to take a vote in this room about whether Putin should be doing this or that, or whether Trump should be, there'd be all sorts of answers. And they just argue and squabble in Parliament. Nothing happens because nobody knows the truth. It's just simple, really. So, what's the time? Is anybody? 11:45. Okay. Maybe I can ask you to ask me some questions because I don't really think that I've got much more to say. Yes?
I have a question. Excuse me. When was that process of the treatment plant, is it the colloidal silver or whatever it is to cause that effect?
When did it start?
Who discovered how to do that?
Oh, no, colloidal silver has been around a long time. Dr. Pott will know more about this than me. I don't know too much about it. I just found out and did it myself, you know. I'm sorry.
It shocks.
It does. It gives them toxic shock and turns them from a female to a male. It isn't a nice thing to do to them, all right, but you're going to burn it anyway.
Can you do it with humans?
Oh, I can try. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, mate. Just wondering about seed storage and sort of what sort of understanding you get from, like do you freeze them, or, airtight, what do you do that's best?
Okay, so at the end of, you can't eat it anymore. Okay, so what you do is you grab the head that's there, you dry it, you put it through the industrial blender, bzzz, chop it up into crumbs, you put it in maybe olive oil, put it in the freezer, stir it up. In fact, you can do this for quite some number of days doing this. Take it out, stir it up when it thaws, put it in the freezer, and then what you do is you strain that. You can actually put a pound in there and then take that out, strain that, and put another pound in if you want to get, because it...
Yeah, no, I was more talking about like leftover seeds.
Leftover seeds?
Next year or...
Oh, how long will they last? Yes.
Yeah, what's the best way to store it?
Oh, store it in a dry, cool place with no light. That's all you have to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Dry, cool, store, and no light, yeah.
And what sort of, shelf life do you...
Oh, I've got stuff which came up the other day. It was 10 years old.
Okay.
But they were very good seeds. They were black.
Yeah.
And big and black and brown stripes on them. You know what I mean? They were...
Nice looking,
Yeah. So what I've got here is seeds. I'll be over there. If anyone wants them, I'll be selling them. I've got to sell them because I come from a long way and I don't have any money. I'm on the pension like everybody who's 70, and there's not much money coming in. So if I can just get enough money to get home, I'll be bloody happy as Larry. But I will do a deal with somebody who wants to do a lot of cannabis. I'll do a deal for them. Yes, mate.
Sorry, right, late. What's the ABC about?
Or A is just that it's a full auto, and they take less time than anything else. This takes a bit longer, the B. The C takes a little bit longer, and the D takes the longest of all to grow.
None of those are auto.
Yes, the first one is full auto. But the full auto, they are sisters. They are unstable sisters, which means, for example, that if you took twins, they grow up and they'd do the same thing. But sisters, they grow apart. And so some of them will come 10 days earlier than others, and some will, you know what I mean? And they will have different cannabinoid profiles, every one of them. I like that. The medical profession wants to get certain types cuttings and stick with one type and say that's the best. I don't think so. I think that you keep moving every year and get the cannabinoid profile, whatever. Next year I'm getting 20-to-1 CBD to THC for eating. So if I get back here this time next year, that'll be what's happening. As well as all of these things here, I'll keep on going.
I have a question about planting. Is there any particular advantage in planting the phases of the moon?
Question was there any difference? I'll put this back in. Yeah. Is there any difference between planting and planting different phases of the moon? Now, I have heard about it. I have tried to think about it. And when I plant the plants, they all come up at the same bloody time when the rain comes. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, I'm sorry.
I agree.
You agree? Yeah. Okay. Yes, mate.
So predominantly you've got mostly sativa strains, or like a mix, obviously your hybrid or whatever. Have you ever noticed any difference when you're treating someone if you've used indica predominant on somebody as opposed to a sativa, whether there was any differences?
I got no idea because I used to stick the whole lot together. I never worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah, indica, sativa, it all went in the same bloody pot and away we went. Yes.
I seem to recall reading somewhere once that you can tell under a microscope the difference between male and female seeds. Is that true?
Yes, I've heard that. I tried that. Apparently if you look at the end of the seed, there's certain hollows and there's certain other types of hollow, and one of them is male and one of them is female. So I separated 500 and I'd let them come up. This is 3 years ago, and 50% were male and 50% were female, 50% were male and 50% were female. So I don't think that it works at all. Yeah.
I totally agree and tried something similar, and I believe it's because like we were talking about before, they get stressed in the way they get stressed, and you can't plan for that with if it's a weather-based or other things. So you don't always have males and females in that situation. No matter how they start with the in or what you think they look like, generally speaking, there's always going to be those other conditions,
Yes, there's sometimes, that's right, if you get a really bad season, you can actually the plants can go hermaphrodite with a really, really bad season.
You've had some amazing shit, and near the very end, like literally at the end, that just changed because of some external factors.
Yes,
They're
yes.
still amazing.
Yes, but you can combat that in a great way by having top quality seeds. They don't bend to the forces as much as what something which is a white seed coming up and going, oh shit, I don't feel so good. Yeah, that's how I see it. Hello, yeah.
Could you give us a brief about, you mentioned once before about arthritis in your hands.
Arthritis, yes. Well, my family has genetic problems. They all have arthritis, or just about all of them. I had it, and from working too hard out on the farm, and especially this finger was crooked. When I started making oil in a big way, you get oil all over your hands. You have to put it in your mouth. it all gets on your face. Everything gets covered in oil. And after about a year of doing that, these hands are now a whole heap different.
Wow.
Yeah, and both of them, I always get up in the morning and go, oh, shit, like that. But now, in the morning, I can do that. Yeah.
How can you tell a good seed from a bad seed?
A good seed from a bad seed.
When people ask questions, do you want to come up to the front and grab the microphone?
Yeah, come up to the front, grab the microphone.
Yeah, you can't hear it.
Okay,
Is
yes.
it okay? And the microphones are right here.
The difference between a good seed and a bad seed, you will find out when it grows. You can't tell a good seed from a bad seed.
Yep. You mentioned before to spray the colloidal silver on the plant prior to it showing its sex.
It's best to, yes.
How does it work if you're trying to spray a female plant? You just pick a few and
Yes, if
one of them will show.
you can spray 10 of them, and the males won't take any notice of that, but the females will, so.
Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so. But I don't do that because I used feminized seeds,
Yeah.
and I maleise one of those.
Yeah. And perfect actually. And what was the other thing? Something else.
Something else was there?
There was. It's lost.
Don't panic,
Never mind.
mate. It'll get to you. Just come back up when you. So, any other questions?
Does a feminized seed plant create feminized seed?
No, a feminized seed plant does not create any seed at all. It produces white hairs which eventually, if they don't get fertilized, when they get fertilized, the white hair curls up and makes a seed. If it doesn't get fertilized, there's a little green sheath that comes up across it, and it's covered in trichomes, those things I was talking about. That's what you're wanting to get, to eat. Yeah. All right, so we must be getting close to the...
I was just wondering whether there was a difference between if you have a batch of seeds, the light ones and the darker ones.
Yes, the light ones are immature. They're like teenagers. The dark ones are like you and me, dear.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. The other thing I was wondering, have you ever done any research or known of anyone do any research on the alkalinity of the whole plant?
Alkalinity. See, the
pH.
Yes, the pH.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is how it works. Cannabis actually is responsible for, or your internal cannabis system is responsible for 80% of your homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put cannabis oil into your body, those problems that you are just talking about, pH problems, they start to disappear because that gets in the road of homeostasis.
Okay, that answers a lot of questions for me being a naturopath. Thank you.
All right, cheers. And that's the whole thing, guys, is that you've heard yesterday the cancers that are that size going to that size. It's basically because you've increased the amount of cannabinoids in your body and it wants to go to homeostasis. It can't do that with a bloody cancer there. It can only do it if there's no cancer there. So let's get rid of it. It's as simple as that. There's no big deal. Yes, dear.
I was really interested in what you had to say about eating the CBDA, the THCA, and all the terpenes and limonene and all those wonderful things, about eating them just from the raw plant, basically. Do you have any recommendations about the types of proportions of CBDA to THCA?
This is the next part of research. I don't know. Yes, but what I can tell you is that CBDA and THCA will probably do a little bit of a different job Now, the interesting thing is that the molecular structure of THC, CBD and all of those, they're exactly the same. All the acidic molecules are exactly the same. It's just the angles between the molecules that are changed, or one molecule's moved or something. It's still a cannabinoid. You know, I can't really say much about what the future of the research is going to be, but that's the cutting edge now, as far as I can tell. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So I think that's me done, isn't it? Yeah. I'm fine with that. I'll introduce Dr. Bott, because he came to my factory and I